Welcome back to SportsLine here on News Channel 5 Plus. Tennessee Titans back at practice today at St. Thomas Sports Park, getting ready for Sunday's game with the division rival Houston Texans. Of course, the Texans coming in having won only once all season. The Titans, of course, 8-2, looking for a 7th consecutive victory as we said going into the break, look to move closer towards securing home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. Head coach Mike Vrabel in a somewhat better mood these days as his team is off to a great start this season. Here's what he had to say earlier today at St. Thomas Sports Park.
Mike, coming from the stretch of so many games against playoff teams from last year, now preparing for a one-win team, you feel that your team is maybe mature enough to deal with and treat this team with the same respect as the last few?
Well, I hope so. I hope that that's something that we've always preached, and I think that every week is different. Every week is a new challenge. They have so many new starters, new players. I think that when you talk about teams in your division, you tend to have a pretty good feel for who they are, what the personnel is, and that's new. That's new for us, just the way that the team is constructed. So we'll have to learn personnel. We'll have to learn. Some of the scheme is different. There's some carryover, obviously, with Tim. But it's going to be critical that we learn who these guys are, especially defensively. It's a different style of defense than what we're used to against the Texans.
This offense isn't necessarily set up for big passing numbers. What do you think is most important in kind of evaluating Ryan's game? What do you look for?
Well, decisions. Accuracy. His ability to make very good decisions, his ability to get us in and out of plays. His toughness. I evaluate his toughness. That's always something that's really critical. His ability to take care of the football.
Is he doing those things pretty well so far, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that there's some things that obviously he'd like. We'd all like to do better. So again, we're just trying to keep focus on the Texans and improve the stuff that showed up last week, and try to carry over the things that weren't maybe up to expectations in all levels.
We talked with Crow and Williams yesterday about Danico bouncing between those meeting rooms. Is that something you did at a stage of your Patriots career where you were playing inside and out, and what's that like for a guy to kind of go back and forth?
There's a lot of things I did and a lot of things that people did in their career. As far as positionally and playing other spots, I really believe that's a great question that Danico could answer. And we try to coach him up wherever he's going to be, wherever we feel like he is for that particular week or in that package. I know he tries to do everything that we ask him to do, whether that's affecting the quarterback or playing the run. Continues to do a nice job of disrupting the football, of using his length and timing some of those passes. So we ask guys to do a lot of different things, and Danico has been more than willing to try to do those.
There was a play Sunday where it was the fumble recovered for the first down. And there's been a couple of other fluky plays like that in the past few weeks, different types. How much are you a believer in that you make your own luck through preparation, or do you believe that those things balance out over the course of the year?
I believe that the football isn't round and it takes some goofy bounces, and so we'll have to try to take care of the football and finish around it. That's what we always preach on defense and on offense and special teams. Is I'm pretty sure that when we kicked the ball off, we didn't think that we'd cause a fumble, but guys are running down there and trying to get around the football, and Torrey was able to recover it. AJ was ready to cover it. Appreciate the fact that our quarterback is diving in the middle of the pocket, or in the middle of the scrum, trying to get the football back.
What did you see your running game with Adrian and Deontay this past week compared to maybe the previous week, their first outing?
I think we've reviewed the game, I think in past. So again, moving forward, trying to improve on, whether it's one guy making a tackle, Jim, or let's stick with the path or stick with the landmark. That's what's going to have to improve, is whether it's one guy that we didn't go to or one guy that we missed, or when we got them all covered up, we made we would like a better cut. So those are things that we're focusing on this week in the run game. And that's what we tried to impress upon them, whether that was after the game, reviewing it, or making corrections or moving forward, is just trying to say, hey, we can't continue to have one guy be free or somebody win and the back make the correct cut, and then when we get them all covered up or when we get them blocked, us not make what we would think would be the correct cut. So it's got to be a blend. It's got to be, there's a lot of trust involved when you're doing that kind of stuff and running the football and getting guys covered up and having the backs make the proper cut.
Mike, Christian missed a month, but didn't really seem to lose a beat when he returned for you guys last week. Just what did you see out of him, and how critical is he to
this focus will be on the Texans, and he'll have to try to cover Cooks and Conley and those guys. So we're into Wednesday, and we come out and talk to you guys on Monday, and we try to review the game the best we can. So, my focus will be in our teams. I hope, Robbie, we can remind them when we speak that we'll be on the Texans. So Christian will have a huge challenge. Janoris will have a huge challenge. All our DBs will have a huge challenge in defending a guy, especially, starting with Cooks that has 84 targets and 67 catches, and just the longevity and his consistency.
Yeah, a familiar guy over there, Desmond King, that you talked about the defense briefly. Can you talk a little bit more about him and just his...
He's done a fantastic job. He's a very good returner. He's a strong returner, much different than the player that we played last week. Dez is gonna catch it, and he's gonna use his play strength to get north and south. And defensively, he's doing a nice job. He's disrupting the football. He's had some caused fumbles, hammer at the football, plays outside for him, plays inside. So, again, we'll have to make sure that if we catch it on him, we'll have to put it away. Him and Mitchell, especially, do a nice job, hammering the football out.
You guys have kind of put yourself in a situation where you pretty much you control your own destiny. Do you put any stock into that? I mean, is that too far-fetched into the future?
I mean, I would like to think that every day that we wake up, we control our own destiny in some way. We're just trying to continue to improve, try to get healthy, try to play faster, try to play with more urgency, and just continue to try to eliminate the things that are going to get you beat, and cleaning up some of the things that showed up on Sunday.
What kind of challenge did the quarterback present to your defense?
Well, there's the ability to scramble, the ability to mix in, whether it's the RPO game, or him running with the football. I think that's something that will always be critical to understand, with Tyrod. He's won games in this league. So we'll have to try to make sure that we're good on the edges, and when we rush, it's probably a different style each week, and his style is such that, if our rush lanes aren't sound, he will be able to put the ball away and gain yards. When everybody's got their back turned and they're covering a man-to-man, if we're reckless in our rush, he can make you pay.
Berkshire was a guy that made a lot of big plays here the last couple of years. Aside from the injury that slowed him at the start of the year, has there been any other reason why he hasn't had as good of numbers as he put up the last couple of years?
No, I don't really. That's whether it's targets, there's a lot of reasons, but we'll need a better game from Anthony and from Jeff Swaim, Michael Pruitt, all the tight ends. So, he chips a little bit there for us on third down, and stay out of 3rd and 12, and we'll get into the pass route quicker.
Deontay pretty well in your 1 year, I guess, in Houston, and I guess how have you seen him change maybe since that time?
Did know Deontay. pretty much the same, evaluation. Thought he was a natural runner. Somebody that always been a natural runner. Remembered him catching the ball well in Houston against us, whether it was in training camp or any type of competitive period. Remembered him catching the ball, a natural catcher, which I think showed up the other day. So somebody that's familiar with our system.
We've talked about your guy
At all at this point?
I don't really know what his level of maturity was or what issues, that there were. I was coaching defense, and my time around Deontay has been positive. Just come in, he's tried to learn what we're doing and try to help us, and I'm sure he'll try to do the same thing this week.
You've talked about knowing kind of the seat that every guy's in your meeting room. But on other occasions where there's kind of seems to be a relatable issue with you and a player, you're reluctant to talk about it, at least with us.
No, not reluctant. I just would try not to bring, I try not to reference my playing career. I don't think that's going to have any bearing on our success as a football team. I have a new role. I'm in a new role. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. I mean, it's just, that's a long time ago.
Are there times, though, where it's relatable, like, hey, I've been through the exact same thing you're going through?
With the players, sure. Yeah, I mean, those are conversations. Empathy is something that is important, to be able to understand. A big job that I have here is to be willing to listen and to make sure that everybody that wants to talk is heard. And then, I have to do what's best for the team and make a decision. So empathy always helps, when you're listening to somebody and they may see it differently, to try to relate that to any situation that I had in the past. I try to do that and say, sometimes we have to make decisions that may not be best for us or we don't agree with, but ultimately they're the best ones for the team. So
not stuff you're generally eager to talk about here.
No, not with you guys. No, certainly not.
As a player, if I might do a question about that as it relates to Floyd Reese being honored this weekend, what do you recall about the teams he built back then here and going against those teams?
Physical teams, big teams. Obviously Eddie, big running back. Obviously big receivers, Dyson and Mace, bigger receivers. At length. Obviously on the edge, Curse, Bullock. Those were all battles. Those big offensive line. Obviously the quarter. When you took it like size for a position, there wasn't going to be a more physically imposing player than Steve McNair, right? Eddie was probably one of the bigger backs in the game at that time. So those are good qualities to have when you build a team.
Anything intangibly with those teams that maybe matches up with the kind of team you want to have or have been on?
Yeah, I mean, they played physical. They played physical. You knew that, we got up on them, I think, in a playoff game, and they were there at the end, had a chance to tie it or do whatever. I mean, it just, you knew what they weren't going to go away. They weren't just going to fold up and take off early.
About managing the practice weeks here the last couple of years. Are you going to be looking for down the line somewhere to get a little more physical again as the end of the season draws near?
I'm focusing on this week. I just see where we're at here. 11, going on 11 straight. So just trying to get guys healthy and get them back and trying to play as fast as we possibly can. And if something, if I feel like we need to do that later on in the year, we'll try to take advantage of that.
Some players have mentioned you've had a specific message or phrase different weeks depending on the situation. I was just curious, do you have a message or will you have a specific message going into the
Yeah, I mean, we really just talked about the urgency. I felt like it wasn't quite there where it needed to be on Sunday from at all levels. from a coaching perspective, from a playing perspective. So we're trying to get guys as much rest as we possibly can, try to get the coaches out of here so that we can come in, with some energy, with the ability to teach and to explain concepts and what we're trying to do. And then mindful of the players and the guys that are out there battling for us that are far less than 100%. And I thank them all the time. The guys that just do it over and over and that are beat up, but try to play a certain style for us and try to do it every week.
When you have games like this that seem to be such a mismatch, how much more important is that message? Just the effectiveness, the efficiency of it. How much more important is it for games like these where it is on paper a lopsided match?
Yeah, man. I don't know who draws the papers up, but these games in this league, these are grown men with a lot of pride. And if you take a playoff, somebody could get hurt. Not only could you lose the game, somebody could get hurt. That's just never how I've ever approached this game. You know what I mean? You drop your hands one time and you get hit in the chin and you go to a knee. I never bought into any of that stuff. So from a wasn't big on paper.
From a message perspective, though, do you dig a little deeper, to try to find something different to bring out for these guys?
No, just do the stuff that we've been coaching you to do since 2018 when we all got here, and do it better. Not trying to reinvent anything, but just trying to manage the week of preparation, trying to focus on the stuff that we believe in that wins games, and just do it better.
Don't add to the defensive line now on the active roster.
Well, he plays great with his hands. Good, good pad level. Showed up the other day with being active. Being really knocking the line of scrimmage back a few times. So, thought he showed up. And we always say when you take advantage of your opportunities, you earn more opportunities. So we'll see where it is, this week in that rotation.
All right, there you have it. Mike Vrabel, head coach of the Tennessee Titans, as his team gets ready for the Houston Texans on Sunday, 12 noon at Nissan Stadium. And, of course, we've said it before, but it bears repeating. The Titans 8-2, riding a 7-game winning streak, trying to lock up home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. All right, time for another break. When we come back, we'll hear from the Titans quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. Find out what he had to say today earlier this morning at St. Thomas Sports Park. Your phone calls are welcome as well. You know the number. Give us a call. Love to talk to you. Stay with us here on SportsLine.